Lesson 7, revisiting some norms. So this is where you're going to introduce students to a notice and wonder. And so you're going to have students make a T-chart. And so if you want to just scribble a quick T-chart on your own, with one column being what do you notice and one column being what do you wonder. And you're probably the first time going to have to make sure that students are clear of what the difference between a notice and wonder is. So a notice is a statement, something that they see, something that they know. And then what do you wonder is in the form of a question. So I'm going to give you just about 30 seconds or so to look at the next image. You will notice that it's not necessarily mathematic, but that's okay when you're first introducing a routine. In fact, we actually recommend that you introduce a routine with something that all students can approach, so that way you are really focusing on the structure and the procedures of the routine, and students aren't getting hung up in the mathematics of the routine. So 30 seconds or so to record. What do you notice and what do you wonder? All right, real quickly, would somebody be willing to share a notice about this?
I noticed, this is Jamie Nordstrom, I noticed that some of the dishes had very Italian names and other ones not so much.
Okay. Somebody in the chat said, looks like they are all appetizers.
I noticed that the cheaper items did not really contain any meat.
All right, anybody have a wonder? There's a few more noticings coming up in the chat now. Anybody have a wonder? Jamie?
Yeah, I wondered if Michael was struggling on his own, and that's why he had to take on Pete as a partner.
If they serve breakfast, what's a cheese curd? The size of the servings, how to pronounce some of the words, what year this is, because the prices look pretty good. Those are good ones. Excellent. So you can see when you present them with something like this that all students have some way that they can engage in the activity. All right, moving forward now. You would then do another stand-in talk. And so remember, we talked about how if you are distance learning, this is where you could put students into random breakout rooms in pairs. So in this activity, students would, in their pairs, one pair would share everything they know about this activity or about what they see on this card. And then the other student would also get a minute to share everything that they know from this card. And then you're going to come together as a class and let the groups share out what they noticed about this. And from there, with the teacher's help and guidance, students should be able to come up with a caption for both sides of this card. All right, so that takes us into lesson 8, and Arlene's going to finish us off.
Anyway, so lesson 8 is the last lesson of this getting started module. And then so students are encouraged to think about the tasks that they've done so far and what they learned from them. So on pages 23 to 25 in the manual. And it opens with another notice and wonder. And as Jen said, that we tend to start introducing these routines with things that are not terribly mathematical, but are engaging for students or interesting for them. And then we, throughout this module, have used the routine at least twice. And the second time is a more mathematical, but still very accessible implementation of the routine. So this one is an example of the Fibonacci sequence, done graphically. And so students would engage with a notice and wonder on there. And again, very accessible because they can even, I mean, they can talk about colors and the spiral and things like that, or they can get quite sophisticated in what they come up with. So you could do a notice and wonder around that one to get you started. And then a reflection activity. And this reflection activity probably looks very similar to what you saw before in the emoji activity, but this time you provide a list of all the different activities that you did in the getting started, and you invite students to put them on the axes according to how they feel about how interesting they were, boring to fun, or how mathematical and non-mathematical they are. And it's suggested that you hang on to these so that at some point during the year, if you're looking for ways to remotivate students, or if you're having a tough time, go back and fall back upon one of these frameworks, one of these activities, or a variation of it to re-engage your students. Virtually, what you might do is give each student their own slide and let them just stamp it with the numbers 1 to 15 wherever they think that it fits. And then you can talk as a group about what they liked doing, what was fun, and what made it that way, and what are the key things about it. So students looking back at what they've done over these 8 lessons and really thinking about where they've come, and encouraging you to think about your group, your class as a group, as to what you've accomplished at this point. Okay, so that wraps up getting started, but afterwards you will see that it has additional activities listed. These are activities that are, again, culture building, group work, positive mindset, that we encourage you to use wherever they're helpful throughout the school year. So you start off this way, but you may need to refresh your culture at some point, particularly after a break or after a particularly tough lesson or unit. So these are other activities that you can think about to do that. And it's by no means an exhaustive list. We encourage you to use whatever you know that's helpful for maintaining and building on that culture. But those are some that'll help you out as you move forward.